Today, we're tackling a really critical health issue, one that doesn't get nearly enough attention. We're talking about a huge and frankly alarming disparity in how dementia affects the Black community. We're going to look at the numbers, figure out the causes, and most importantly, explore the path forward.
Okay, let's just get right to it. This is the single statistic that kicks this whole thing off. Older Black Americans are twice as likely to have dementia as older white Americans. Let that sink in for a second. That's not a small difference. It's a massive health gap that we absolutely have to understand.
So, here's our roadmap. We'll start with the disparity itself. Then, we'll try to untangle this complex web of causes, including the barriers built into the healthcare system. After that, we'll look at solutions, both big and small, and finally, what you can do to take charge of your own health.
All right, let's dive into part one, a startling disparity. We really need to get a handle on the scale of this problem. First, a quick refresher just so we're all on the same page. When we say dementia, it's not one specific disease. It's an umbrella term for conditions that mess with your memory, your thinking, your ability to make decisions. And Alzheimer's? That's the most common one you hear about, making up a huge chunk of all cases.
Now, here's what's really scary. This isn't just a problem for today. If things don't change, projections show that by 2060, the number of African Americans living with dementia is set to quadruple. It's not just a problem, it's a rapidly growing crisis.
Which brings us to our next section, the web of causes. This is the big question, right? Why? Why is this happening? And the answer, well, it's not simple. It's a complicated mix of factors that are all tangled up together.
A huge piece of this puzzle is that certain health conditions, things we know are major risk factors for dementia, are just way more common in the Black community. And they don't exist in a vacuum. They create a pattern of increased risk. Let's take high blood pressure, for example. It's a huge risk factor. And just look at these numbers from 2018. Over 57% of Black men had high blood pressure, compared to about 50% of white men. And for women, the gap is even wider, almost 57% for Black women versus less than 44% for white women. That's a huge difference.
And it's not just blood pressure. The pattern continues. Black Americans are twice as likely to have type 2 diabetes, 1.5 times more likely to have a stroke, and 30% more likely to die from heart disease. Every single one of these conditions dramatically increases the risk of dementia.
So, you have to ask, what's behind all these health conditions? A growing body of research points to a hidden driver, chronic stress. We're talking about the constant, lifelong weight of things like everyday racism, housing segregation, and economic inequality. All of that stress has a real physical impact on the body. It can raise your blood pressure, increase your risk for diabetes. I mean, look at this stat. In 2019, over 17% of Black families lived in poverty, compared to just 5.5% of white families. That's a massive source of stress.
Okay, so this leads directly into our third section, barriers within the system. Because this isn't just about what's happening inside a person's body, it's about the healthcare system they have to navigate.
And get this, it's pretty shocking. The very tools we use to diagnose dementia can be part of the problem. This quote here points out that a lot of the standard cognitive tests were developed based on research done almost exclusively on white people. That means they might not be accurate for people from different cultural or educational backgrounds, and that could lead to a wrong diagnosis.
On top of that, you've got all these real-world obstacles, stuff like just getting health insurance in the first place, or finding doctors with available appointments, or having to rely on public transport, which can make getting to those appointments a huge challenge. And then there's the issue of food deserts, where neighborhoods have plenty of fast food, but not enough supermarkets with fresh, healthy options. It all adds up.
Okay, so we've laid out a lot of problems. Let's shift gears and talk about solutions. This is section 4, forging a path forward. We've got to look at this from a big systemic level.
So what does real change look like? Well, here are 4 key steps. Number 1, make research more inclusive. We need more Black, Indigenous, and people of color in clinical trials, period. 2, we need better diagnostic tools, ones that are culturally sensitive. 3, we need to reform healthcare itself, building trust and making sure doctors are aware of these specific risks. And 4, transparency. Let's collect and publish the data on these disparities so we know exactly where we stand.
Now, changing the whole system is a huge, long-term project, but that doesn't mean there's nothing we can do in the meantime. That brings us to our last section, taking control of your health. This is all about what individuals can do to lower their risk.
So what can you do starting today? Well, there are 4 big things. First, focus on a healthy diet.
Something like the Mediterranean diet with lots of fish and veggies has been shown to be great for the brain. Second, get moving. Regular exercise is huge for cutting the risk of all those conditions we talked about. 3, get that blood pressure under control. And 4, keep your brain active. Read, do puzzles, play games. It all helps build cognitive reserve.
And really, that's the bottom line. A problem this big and complicated needs a two-front approach. We absolutely have to push for big systemic changes to make healthcare more fair. And, at the exact same time, we need to empower ourselves and each other with the knowledge to protect our own health. It's not one or the other. It has to be both.
So, I'll leave you with this to think about. What do you think is the single biggest barrier to health equity right there in your own community? Because really, fixing this on a grand scale starts with understanding the challenges right where we are. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.